Chupacabra. Picture a farmer in rural Puerto Rico waking up to find his entire herd of goats drained of blood overnight. Not a single drop left, yet no wounds anywhere except two strange puncture marks. That's exactly what triggered the Chupacabra panic in the 1990s. A spiky, hairless, dog-like beast with glowing red eyes said to hunt livestock across Latin America and the southern United States. Here's the twist, though. When researchers finally trapped several of these monsters, DNA tests revealed something far less alien: coyotes and dogs suffering from severe sarcoptic mane. This brutal parasitic infection eats away fur, thickens and cracks the skin, and leaves animals looking genuinely monstrous, almost skeletal. Interestingly, mange doesn't just change appearance. It destroys an animal's ability to hunt normal prey, forcing desperate, half-blind creatures toward easy livestock targets, which explains the bizarre attack pattern people. Even stranger, the very first Chupacabra sighting in 1995 described a completely different creature, a spiny, kangaroo-like reptilian being, before later reports shifted entirely to the mangy canine description we know today. So the legend didn't just get explained by science. It actually evolved twice, once through eyewitness imagination and once again through medical reality. Loch Ness Monster. A grainy black and white photograph taken in 1933 turned a quiet Scottish lake into one of the most famous mystery locations on the planet, showing what looked like a long-necked creature breaking the surface of Loch Ness. Locals had whispered about a water beast for generations before that, but this single image sparked worldwide obsession almost overnight. The most popular theory claims Nessie is a surviving plesiosaur, yet there's a huge geological problem nobody talks about. Loch Ness itself only formed around 10,000 years ago after glaciers carved it out, meaning nothing from the age of dinosaurs could possibly be trapped inside. Sonar sweeps, submarine expeditions, and even a 2019 environmental DNA study sampling the entire loch's water found zero evidence of any large, unidentified animal, though the DNA skin did reveal an unexpectedly massive population of. Perhaps most shocking of all, the photographer behind that legendary 1933 photo confessed decades later it was staged using a toy submarine with a sculpted head attached. Despite the confession, over 1,000 reported sightings have piled up since, proving Nessie survives today not in the water, but purely in the power of a story people refuse to let go. Dwarves. Long before fantasy books turned dwarves into axe-wielding underground blacksmiths, cultures scattered across the globe, from North Scandinavia to island communities in Southeast Asia, independently told stories of tiny, intelligent humanoids living hidden away from ordinary. What makes this genuinely fascinating is that these unconnected civilizations never shared stories with each other, yet somehow landed on remarkably similar folklore. Then in 2003, cave excavations on the Indonesian island Flores uncovered something extraordinary: skeletal remains of Homo floresiensis, a real species of ancient human standing barely 3.5 feet tall. Nicknamed hobbits, these tiny humans weren't primitive at best guess either. Evidence shows they crafted sharp stone tools and successfully hunted pygmy elephants far larger than themselves. Even more surprising, they may have survived until just 50,000 years ago, meaning they potentially crossed paths with early modern humans arriving. Their shrinking size resulted from island dwarfism, a documented evolutionary process where limited food resources on isolated islands cause large species to shrink dramatically across generations. Encounters, or even just discovered bones, could easily have sparked oral traditions passed down for millennia, eventually inspiring the dwarf legends still told today. Dragons. Ancient China, medieval Europe, and pre-Columbian Mesoamerica all independently created legends of massive scaled reptiles with zero contact between these civilizations, which raises an obvious question. How did completely isolated cultures dream up nearly identical? Fossils hold the answer. Long before paleontology existed as a science, farmers and travelers regularly unearthed enormous bones jutting out of cliffs and riverbeds with absolutely no framework to explain. Imagine stumbling across a protoceratops skull the size of a car door with no concept of extinction. Calling it a dragon would have felt like the only logical nation. Remarkably, in China, these dragon bones weren't just admired. They were ground into powder and sold as traditional medicine for centuries, an industry that inadvertently destroyed countless valuable dinosaur fossils. Living reptiles fed the myth too, since early explorers encountering Komodo dragons, genuinely massive lizards capable of killing water buffalo with venomous bites, brought back stories that only fueled the legend further. Layer in generations of exaggerated oral storytelling. and a pile of ancient bones transforms into a fire-breathing terror. In many ways, dragons represent humanity's very first attempt at paleontology, just powered by myth instead of microscopes. Cthulhu. Unlike most creatures on this list, Cthulhu has a documented birth date. Author H.P. Lovecraft invented this cosmic horror in 1928, describing an octopus-headed, tentacled giant slumbering beneath the Pacific Ocean until its eventual awakening drives humanity insane. Fictional origin aside, Cthulhu's terrifying design taps directly into something very real: humanity's ancient dread of the deep ocean's unseen inhabitants. For centuries, sailors swapped terrifying stories of the Kraken dragging entire ships beneath the waves, tales almost certainly inspired by genuine encounters with giant squid, animals that can stretch over 40 feet and were so elusive scientists didn't capture footage of one alive. 2000. Here's a genuinely wild fact: colossal squid, a separate and even larger species, possess the biggest eyes of any animal ever recorded, roughly the size of a dinner plate, likely evolved to detect faint bioluminescent flashes in total dark. Scientists estimate that well over 2/3 of all ocean life remains completely undiscovered, meaning genuinely alien-looking creatures are living miles beneath the surface right now, unnamed and unseen. Lovecraft essentially borrowed humanity's oldest, most primal fear: unicorn. Medieval European tapestries popularized the unicorn we picture today, a pure white horse crowned with a single spiraling horn. But belief in horned equine-like beasts stretches back far earlier, with ancient Greek writer Ctesias describing a wild unicorn native to India around 400 BC, almost certainly a second-hand, exaggerated account of a rhinoceros. There's a far more compelling prehistoric candidate hiding in the fossil record, though. Elasmotherium, nicknamed the Siberian unicorn, was a genuine giant rhinoceros, standing over 6 feet tall and weighing nearly 4 tons, roughly the size of a small elephant, with a massive horn jutting from its forehead. Scientists originally assumed it vanished around 200,000 years ago, but a 2018 fossil analysis stunned researchers by dating certain specimens to just 39,000 years ago, meaning early Homo sapiens could realistically have crossed paths with. Picture ancient hunters on the Eurasian steppe encountering a horned beast the size of a small elephant thundering toward them. That kind of terrifying memory doesn't just fade. It gets retold, exaggerated, and eventually reshaped across thousands of years into the graceful, magical creature now printed on children's lunchboxes worldwide. Giant serpents. From the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl in Aztec mythology to the rainbow serpent of Aboriginal Australian legend, stories of colossal snakes capable of devouring humans whole appear on nearly every continent throughout history. These weren't purely invented fears either, since genuinely massive serpents did once slither across this. In 2009, paleontologists working in a Colombian coal mine uncovered fossilized vertebrae belonging to Titanoboa, an ancient snake that lived roughly 60 million years ago, shortly after the asteroid wiped out the Titanoboa stretched an almost impossible 42 feet long and weighed over a ton, easily earning its title as the largest snake ever confirmed to exist, with a body wide enough that its skull alone was the size of a ace. Scientists believe its jaw-dropping size was only possible because Earth's average temperature during that era was significantly hotter than today, since cold-blooded reptiles grow larger in our climate. While nothing that colossal survives now, reticulated pythons still regularly exceed 20 feet and have been documented swallowing full-grown deer whole. Ancient cultures stumbling upon such genuinely massive predators, or their fossilized remains centuries later, had every reason to immortalize them as gods and monsters.